You dumb. And we are live. So, welcome to episode 198 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we got Eric. He's back from yesterday. From Hey Internet, Eric here.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us once again. Yes, of course. We had a great discussion yesterday with Jay King. I'm looking forward to this one today. And we've got John K. Alvarez, who's feeling sheepish. Understandably, is a little on the back foot, after this particular movie. And it's always good to see John. One of the things Bill was telling me one time while we were waiting for other people to show up in the stream, it was just him and me. And he said, I'm not blowing smoke, but he expressed gratitude for the show, but not for the reasons that you would think. It's so that he could see you guys.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
And he was like, if it's not for this show, I won't see John. I won't see Eric. I won't see. Well, he didn't mention Rod, but but
poor guy.
I'm sure he'd rather Rod than Ryan. But I'm just saying, it's the opportunity to, that the show provides to. Right. To sort of see each other face to face. And with John, he goes back 35 years. With Rod, he goes back 35 years. With me, he goes back, that same amount of time. And so, as we've gotten older, people distribute themselves geographically to different places. And this has provided an opportunity that, we wouldn't have otherwise. John, you and I probably wouldn't be seeing each other at all.
No. We occasionally send, before this, would send email messages or things like that on Facebook and stuff. But it was when we first started talking about movies, it was then we're like, we should do this more often.
And then I had an immediate idea of, not Eric notwithstanding, and Julia and a few other people. I had an immediate idea of who I wanted to have on the show, and it was Bill, and it was Ryan, and it was Rod, and it was John. And they were all the people that I had within the first 10 episodes or so.
Yep.
So now
then Eric came along and put us all to shame. And
Eric, Eric has been, one of the great surprises.
Thank you.
One of the great opportunities that I've had, because I'm not the type of person who will just connect with everybody.
Right.
That's not my way, and it feels disingenuous if I were to do that. Other people, fine, whatever. Right. But for me, if I can score one good person, out of this, then I consider it a success. But it's been Eric, and it's been Marty, and it's been Julia, and it's been Frank from The Harsh Truth, and Walk the Cinema. Those good people over there, and occasionally from Sydney, from Cinema Cities, to connect with other people this way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all this because of.
I'm sorry, Mike. I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying all this because of this, not the beer.
I think.
Maybe the beer.
When we hit the 200th episode, since Eric has done such a good job in ingratiating himself, being the youngest member too. We really need to get him a cake so he can pop out of it.
Well, I don't know. Is that just coffee in there, John?
Sadly, it's just coffee.
Well, how about you could have just said since I'm the youngest, that's why on episode 200 we're doing a fucking cartoon. So
yeah, we're doing a cartoon.
Us, a cartoon is right at our level.
Here's the thing. Maybe something for the cartoon. I will require some libations. Everybody, John, and I don't know if with your, condition, if you're, imbibing right now or whatever, but everybody, bring a drink or something.
This is filled. This is filled with water, and I didn't have any ice cubes, so I took 2 blue freeze pops. This is the extent of my mixing.
Yeah.
with drinks right now.
Well, what I'll do, if John cannot partake, I will get some liquor for him to make it a double. So we'll do that.
We'll cover your end. We'll cover.
I got you, buddy.
I feel special now.
Oh, we know that. That's why you fit in perfectly here.
Yeah. It's still.
I'm going to do a wrestling show one day. and scare.
Come on board. Come on board. You know, I was just telling Eric. I'm going to find a local federation. That there's a site called WrestleMap.
Mm-hmm.
And if you punch in your zip code, you know, it will tell you what is close to you. And maybe I can find a local wrestling promotion to advocate for, because we were talking about it yesterday. You know, it's these I want these and I put that in Al Snow's. Al Snow did something today, and I put that in there. You know that you know in a better world, people won't have to go to the WWE or the AEW, because these promotions will grow and create some real competition, like the wrestling that we knew when we grew up.
Right.
You know, it wasn't all just one thing, you know, that, you know, well, I can just do whatever the fuck I want now.
Right.
You know, that's what we want. That's what we want.
There's a guy in Wildwood that was connected with it because he does some refereeing, including for like ECW way back in the day.
Oh, wow.
If I can get in touch with him, I'll see if he can connect us. But if it was in Wildwood, I worked with him 13 years ago when we helped put up the Ghost Ship.
Yeah, let me. That would be awesome. That would be. Let him know. I'd love to have him on to, you know, chat him up, and we get Eric and Jay back in here, and you'd be here. Yeah, that would be awesome. Cool. All right. So that aside. What a fucking movie this is. I first saw this movie. I did, and I think I've deleted it off the site because I was having trouble. I was in this thing where I was trying to do some watch-alongs, and they weren't really taking off. And I was enjoying the movie, but you know, you got to go so hard at, you know, keeping yourself out of the copyright zone. So I'd have to play some weird background music, and I think I used the Spotify playlist of the noise the different planets make. And I had the headphones on.
Oh no!
And I was just watching, and I'm like, "What the fuck am I watching?" You know, and then, you know, it just ends really abruptly.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
And it just unless Mr. Monday Night Bill comes on here and says, "I saw it coming," you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that, you know, nobody saw that particular end coming.
Fuck no.
And we're talking about Voldemir Johansson's Lamb. So if you guys are not Lamb, if you guys are ready to go, shall we get it going?
Please do.
Lead on, Shepard.
Boogie woogie. So if I were to look at a folk horror film like The Wicker Man, which John and I covered together,
right,
it sort of always plays out like this waking nightmare. Like on the surface, everything seems okay. But there's this sense that something's terribly wrong. As, you know, Edward Woodward is going through this investigation, you know, trying to locate this missing girl. There's this sense that, you know, something's not fucking right here, but you're not seeing it. It's not a vampire. It's not a werewolf. It's not, you know, a zombie or, you know, whatever. You know, it's not Godzilla. But there's this feeling, this tone to things. Midsommar was kind of the same thing. You didn't really see anything. People just started disappearing. You know, people from that party just, he left. What? Yeah. Oh yeah, he walked out to the car and he left. You know, he's you know, he'll meet you there. You know, we'll bring you in a couple of days. You know, and everything sort of, you know, just spirals out of control from there. This movie is a folk horror film. It's folk horror. I think in the man against nature sort of demographic, and it plays almost like, and I was talking to Eric about it yesterday, it plays a bit like a Grimm's fairy tale, in that things are just accepted. Like, shit, that's not my grandmother. That's my grandmother in the bed. It's not a werewolf.
Right.
You know, it's that. So, oh shit, you know, it's a wolf talking to pigs.
Right.
You know, and the pigs are talking, and you just sort of accept it. Or
yeah, I was thinking Greek. I was thinking Greek myths. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the Minotaur. You know, these. Oh shit, I had a half of a bull. You know, son that lives in this maze. You know, or shit. You know, the Kraken, or you know, Medusa, or all the.
I mean, hell, Mike. We live in New Jersey. The Jersey Devil falls into this type category because it was born of a woman and what have you.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Eric and I were talking about it when you were off camera backstage. I was thinking like you were Brothers Grimm and folklore and mythology. I was thinking pure folklore type deal. If you look at some of those from like the Headless Horseman, that wasn't done by Tim Burton.
Right.
No joke intended. I like that movie, but if you read the actual story that Washington Irving based his story on, it's scarier than hell. But
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a scary fucking short story. Just this folk or like Shirley Jackson's The Lottery.
Oh, that's scary. That one's terrifying.
They're just all fucking psychopaths. It's like a whole village full of fucking psychopaths. You know, it's someone's turn today. You know, 74 years we've been doing the lottery. We ain't ever going to change. You know, this sort of shit. And you're just like, then you figure out what it is.
Today, not like when we were younger.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, it goes into the absurd.
Yeah.
It goes into the absurd in a very matter-of-fact way. And I remember, and I was watching, and I was watching, and I was watching. I'm like, what the?
Same here.
Let me get your opinions. Let's go with John. You can stop feeling sheepish if you would, and tell me your initial thoughts of the film.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's a weird reference point, but when I was watching it, I was thinking of Del Toro's Pinocchio.
Okay.
The acceptance of the wooden boy that looked more wooden than, you know, and the way he described it, and the horror that was in this story, the scary nature of it, but also the way that other people just accepted him type deal. I couldn't take my eyes off of this movie. And yes, I'm sitting there going, what the hell is going on? I hope it keeps going. You know, I really could not take my eyes off it.
All right, Eric, let's go with Eric. What did you think?
I went into this completely blind, like you asked me to. All I knew was the cover of the Blu-ray. And then all I did was just to see, like, you know, the time and see, you know, how much time I had to watch it. And I saw A24, which could mean anything. It can mean something like Hereditary, which is fantastic horror. Something like The Green Knight, the three of us talked about, where it takes, you know, interpretation, but, you know, it's mythological stuff. Or, you know, action like Everything Everywhere All at Once, depressing shit like The Whale. And then there's this. And here's the thing. I went in totally blind. I knew something was up when the lamb was born. But I told you this last night, Mike. I was at like 35 minutes or so when the reveal happened.
Right.
And it was a little late. And I wasn't going to text you because you were sleeping. But I'm like, what the I'm not drunk enough? And what the fuck have you gotten me into? But I couldn't take my eyes away. And not for bad reasons. You know what I mean? I wanted to see where the hell this was going, because afterwards, like you guys said, it's just a normal thing. Let's accept this. Let's deal with this. And it's ordinary folk with an extraordinary situation, and then a what the fuck ending, and all that weirdness, but it's also so beautiful to look at.
The setting of nature itself in this isolated farm, this small little isolated farm, amidst this enormous, you know, sea of green and these mountains.
Yes,
I think that the setting actually almost sort of plays a character in the film. I think, you know, I think you couldn't do this in an American movie.
No.
I think this is a European. This has a distinct It's filmed in Iceland, and so it has a distinct European flavor. And also the lack of dialogue.
I love that.
It's very spare.
You know what? That's what I really loved about this one, because you can tell they were playing it like this really was a married couple doing their daily thing. They weren't forcing them to say something to keep the flow of the movie going. You know, lots of times, I'm a married man. I've been with my wife over 20 years. There are times when we will spend a whole day together. We will watch movies, eat dinner together, and all that. We hardly say a word. You know what I mean? And that's what felt so realistic in this batshit kind of crazy premise. You know what I mean? And that was one thing that I really enjoyed about this film. It's very sporadic when it comes to the conversations.
And so nothing is said unless it needs to be said.
Exactly.
The exposition is set up through the visuals.
And there was a comfort with the two.
Yeah.
And when they accepted the lamb, not to give away the name yet or anything, there was still that comfort was still there.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that really, at the end of Act 1, when there was the reveal 35 minutes into it, that's when I went, and they're still comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what got me. They were this acceptance and this comfortable, even in their sorrow, because there was they were sad.
Yeah.
It was even in their grief, it was almost at ease, like they were ready to accept it. As
I identified with the silence because I'm not married. And so there's no children. I thought, something's missing here. You've got this relatively young couple, and you've got Noomi Rapace. I am an enormous Noomi fan. I've been a fan of Noomi Rapace since the Dragon Tattoo trilogy, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Swedish film. I love Noomi Rapace.
I knew the name.
I think she's an actual actress. She's not just some bimbo scream queen.
Okay.
And she's constantly doing films where she's taking risks. Every once in a while, she'll get involved in like the Sherlock Holmes Guy Ritchie movie. She's in the second one for fun. These sorts of things. But the next movie we're going to cover next week for Witchcraft and Halloween is going to have Noomi Rapace. And John, I'll definitely watch on that when it's on Peacock, so you can get access to it.
Okay.
But there's a silence there. Where I felt when I saw it that something was missing. How is it? And it turns out that it's they're just so isolated. There are no neighbors.
Right.
There are no children. There's a dog. These sorts of things, and so there's just these extended periods of quiet. And I also think that the fact that you find out later on that they are, still struggling over the loss of a daughter. That there's a mourning that's still going on. That's unspoken because there's probably nothing left to say. And they're just going to have to get through it. But I thought the fact that you eliminated all this unnecessary dialogue, made the scenery one of the characters, and made the visuals the complete setup for exposition was just fantastic. And I'm like, wow. And I was sitting here as close as I am to this monitor, first time watch with the headphones on, and I'm like, this is amazing. At least I thought so.
In the beginning of the movie, when you heard the breathing, is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
And then you saw the horses
running.
And the horses ran in fear.
Yeah.
You didn't need to see anything to know something's coming. And that told so much of the beginning of the setup type. That's what got me. It's the silence and the solitude made it simple, which I'm a big fan of. But it really, really worked. That's what made it to me. They're like, what the hell is this? And I can't turn away.
What I liked is, because we're mentioning like how beautiful the landscape was. What I really liked is, because I did how Mike wanted me to. I listened to it with headphones on my laptop, and that breathing, it's menacing. You know what I mean? It's scary hearing it. And then when you think about it, because it just comes and goes. There's like maybe 2 scenes total of the breathing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're putting 2 and 2 together. Like there's definitely something out there. But when you see all these mountains and this and that, as huge as they are, this vast landscape, and it's just 2 people on this teeny tiny little fucking farm. They're screwed with when we find out what that breathing is, and that will help build the tension, because I'm wondering,
exactly.
And then what I think also helped is eventually I kind of forgot about those 2 scenes of breathing, because the second time you hear it is maybe 20 minutes in, and the rest of the movie you don't know what caused it until the very end. I honestly completely forgot about it, because I'm so enamored and watching, what the hell is going on in this film. His family.
And I love The Mist too. I'm glad you took this picture, Mike. The Mist was when I was younger, I wrote a play called A Voice in the Mist. And when somebody asked me why was I picking The Mist, and I turned around and I said, because it's not night, but it's not light out, mist, and you can always get confused what you're saying. And I loved that too, because that added to not even the creepiness, the eeriness of the setting.
Because
it's all natural.
There is no horror in the traditional sense here.
Right.
Because the great thing about this film was that even the trailer didn't reveal anything. Like I remember watching the trailer and I'm like, okay, I don't understand what this is. It looks interesting. It looks intriguing, but it's not telling you what the problem is. It's not a Dracula movie. It's not a zombie movie. It's not World War Z or, something like that. It's this sort of, non-verbal trailer. And you're just like, okay, this has got my fucking interest. With this heavy silence. That's the silences I felt were very, very heavy.
Right.
It just felt like before we get to the lamb, that there were things they just weren't talking about. All the conversations are surface conversations.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard we might be able to go into the future now.
Yeah.
I love that dialogue.
Yeah.
I really, really did, because it said so much about them.
Yeah, they weren't unhappy with each other, but there was obviously something there that they weren't going to put their finger on.
Right.
We're going to get through the day without getting into this.
Yeah, like I love the fact he was saying he wanted to go to the future and she wanted to go to the past when they were talking about time travel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that said so much about where they were in that situation.
And I should say real quick before we get into this is available on Paramount Plus through Showtime. So if you're looking for it, that's where it's streaming right now. That's how I watched it. And I have a Blu-ray, but you can watch it there anytime. And you should. This is a good movie. Another thing that I thought was really good about this was the expressive. It reminded me of The Witch with Black Phillip. The expressiveness of the animals. And I looked and I was just like, especially the mother lamb.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening, the story is, they're sheep farmers, and they're helping these lambs give birth, and then suddenly this lamb gives birth, and they've swaddle it up before you can see what the difficulty is or what the difference is. You can tell that something has happened, and they take the baby lamb into their house. And you're just like, what the fuck?
I was, like I said, I knew something was up, because they did a great job of us only. We're gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it yet, but we only saw the lamb's head.
Yeah.
When the lamb was born, we only saw the head. They swaddled it up. When it's in the crib and they're feeding it milk from the bottle, we only see the head. So I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck's gonna happen when that blanket eventually falls off? I don't know. Is it deformed? Does it have 6 legs or whatever it is? But again, they're just like, okay, it needs some milk. Let's go take care of it.
Like when they put it in the tub, and at one point in time, I'm going, okay, maybe it's hurt or, like it was. But then when he got the crib, I'm going, all right, what the, again, WTF is probably was what I was saying most of the time through this movie. And it was never out of anger or whatever. It was just like,
where are we going?
With this?
Yeah.
And that's what really got me. Because in my head, you can only grab one thing for a crib.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a baby. And so we get to this, they seem very pleased by this, but nobody's talking.
Right.
Nobody's
so
talking.
Silent.
Yeah, there's no what the fuck, because, you figure the guy would be like, what the fuck is that,
Yeah.
And what it turns out to be is some sort of half human, half lamb infant, with like human legs and like one human arm and, one, sheep arm and a sheep head, and so it veers off into this sort of, like I said, like a Grimm's fairy tale, and they decide to adopt this thing as like their surrogate child.
Yeah, that's what made me think of the Greek myth, because Zeus, when he's off, banging all the women, he would also have sex with animals too.
Right.
And give birth to half breeds or what, minotaurs or whatever you want to call them.
Centaurs.
Yeah. So that I'm like, okay, so this is where we're going. And then I was putting two and two together, thinking of it that way. And that's why this married couple is just so accepting of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They've been devastated by the loss of a child. Sort of suffer. Maybe, talking about it now, maybe it's sort of suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Just pretending that, you're going to go about your day-to-day shit. Not really healing.
Right.
Not discussing it, having no one to talk to other than them.
Right.
Yeah. Because you can see back there, that's those buildings there are it.
Yep.
And everything else you have to get there by automobile or a very long walk along the road. And so when this thing comes along, it in a crazy sort of way must seem like some kind of miracle. We can do this thing and no one's going to know about it. Obviously, this couldn't take place in some sort of urban setting, but yeah, I mean, and like you could just as easily say, it's like some sort of fucking Stuart Little movie.
Yeah, a little bit,
or something, and you're just like, what the fuck is this? Or like John said, Pinocchio. It's just, it's accepted.
Exactly.
And that's the weird part about it.
Yeah.
Unlike where you understood with Stuart Little that this was just some, Disney movie, or whatever it was. This was, it's everything's still kind of off.
Yeah. And this is why would like you said earlier, like it can only be a European film.
Yeah.
Like I don't think this could be made in America because they would come with, let's exploit it somehow. And even in the movie, I mean, using Edward Scissorhand is a good example.
Yeah.
As that when, everybody was that look upon him type deal. With
this land would be on talk shows and, traveling the country and stuff like that.
And that would be an American interpretation, and that would have been wrong for story-wise, not just, the concept of exploitation.
But it would have been wrong. Americans don't do a lot of folk horror.
Exactly. And it's a shame because there's a lot around.
There's a lot around. I don't know if they have the mentality for it. This idea that you have to go, this movie doesn't go big.
Right.
It doesn't go big. It doesn't go blockbustery. That's the extent of the CGI. That you're seeing there. It's very small.
I think, and I think honestly the CGI is pretty damn good for what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that, with the exception of maybe the last 5 minutes of the movie, there's no explanation.
Right.
As to how this has happened.
Right.
And then, next thing you know, Noomi Rapace has got the baby, for lack of a better term. He's got the baby in the bathtub.
No, it would be baby.
Yeah, but they're going for drives and all this crazy shit.
I love the fact that when they were in the bathtub, the baby splashed water in her face. It was a scene where she was playful.
It was just like a kid. It literally was just like being with a child.
And that's also one of the things that keeps you off balance, because in a typical horror movie, you might, almost like in The Omen, start to feel the menace.
Right.
There's no menace here from this baby, whatever you want to call it. Ada. They call her Ada. And after their dead daughter. There's no menace here from Ada. She's completely gentle. She's completely loving. She sits there and dresses in human clothes, sits at the table, sleeps in the crib, gets into the bathtub with Numi.
Eventually dances around, watching TV, stuff like that. Stuff a child would do. And as weird as it sounds, because of the premise of this film, it was actually really sweet to see. You know what I mean? In this absurd plot. And that's what I liked about this, because I was talking about the CGI. It's so off. It's good. It's really good CGI, but it's still off-putting, because I didn't know that how quick Ada would grow. Because when we see the reveal, they pick it up, and Ada's maybe the size of a 6-month-old when the reveal happens, and she's picked up and she's nude. But eventually, she's probably grows to, I would say, at least the body of a 1-year-old. Maybe 2 is pushing it. But seeing it
2 to 3,
yeah. But seeing this lamb head on this toddler's body walking around, it's weird, it's off-putting, but it's also very cute and sweet. You know what I mean?
And I love the fact that it was growing. I mean, no joke intended, but it was growing like the way a lamb would grow.
Yeah, super fast.
It didn't look like much time had passed.
Right.
In it. It was growing as it was like the combination of both species, so to speak. And I love that they kept that in. It wasn't like, I love the fact that Ida didn't speak.
Right.
Yeah. That I think would have thrown it off.
That would have been too much.
Yeah.
It was expressive with the face and everything else, but the movements, and again, silence.
But it could also understand and interpret. Like it could shake its head, no. Do you want to go do this? No. It's stuff like that. So it's still intelligent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's intelligent.
Yeah.
And all of this sort of holds up and holds together until the arrival of Uncle Peter.
Yeah.
All right. Eric, impressions of Peter. Not necessarily. Oh, just well, never mind. I won't narrow it down for you. Just
okay. Well, first impressions. I'm like, okay, he's a troublemaker. I could just tell by the way he looked, his body language. But then I was kind of weird. I wasn't sure, because eventually when he first saw Ada, he didn't really say, but he's like, "This is abomination. What the fuck are you guys doing?" But then he was going to do what he was going to do, and then changed his mind. So I'm like, okay, is this going to be a different type of character?
Okay, let me double back just here for a second. Sure. There's something that, and this came with the introduction of Uncle Peter, and that's that the lamb's wanted her baby back,
right?
And so the first time you start to see any overt kind of menace or action, it comes from Noomi Rapace, who shoots at fucking sheep.
That's right. Yeah.
She pulls out a rifle when her husband's still sleeping, this low caliber, I guess, round, and just plugs this fucking sheep, who keeps coming around trying to get her baby back. There are several instances throughout the film, within the first half of the film, the first 45 minutes or whatever, where she, at one point, Ada goes missing, and she's with her biological mother, the sheep.
Right.
And then she keeps coming to the window. She's hanging outside the house. She just keeps bleeding. And you know what she wants. And then one day Noomi Rapace just has enough, and one morning just gets up and shoots her.
Right.
Which sort of breaks the calm.
Yeah.
Right. Even when I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
No, when the mother sheep took Ida away, and Maria and Ingy, I was calling him because I got tired of his name. Mm-hmm. It was really tough for me to remember.
Yeah.
But when Maria was holding Ida and the mother was still bleeding, in my head I was going, if that was a human mother, I'd be crying because she's calling for her child.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Maria turned around and said, "Go away."
Yeah.
Screamed at her.
That to me was, because I kept on saying, well, is it a horror movie? And that scared me.
Mm-hmm.
Her reaction when she, like you were just talking about, pulling out the gun and shooting her. You realized the level that Maria was going to protect this family. Mm-hmm. You know what she had given. That also amazing and scary.
It also made a suggestion that what they're doing is unnatural.
Right.
And this is what she'll do to be able to keep this child,
to maintain this unnatural sort of thing. I think the baby's mama or the baby mother is trying to reassert the natural order of things.
Exactly.
This baby Ada doesn't belong in a crib.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't. It's not E.T. where she's going to be examined by the government or something like that.
Right.
But, Ada doesn't belong in that house.
Right.
And so the death of the U and the arrival of Uncle Peter, who sort of initially reinforces, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Peter was needed.
Yeah, he was, until he sort of falls under the spell too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes Ada out to the field one day before they're all awake with the intention of shooting.
Right.
Ada, he pulls out that fucking rifle. But what ends up happening is that he can't bring himself to do it because Ada is an innocent.
Right.
There's no malice there. Like I said, this isn't The Omen.
Mm-hmm.
Or this isn't like raising a baby werewolf or something like that. It's a sheep.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lamb.
Mm-hmm.
And so
but it's also a child.
Right.
You could be thinking
Peter,
that too.
That's what I was thinking. Peter couldn't kill Ida the same way he couldn't shoot a child.
Yep.
Right.
That's what was. I'm trying to basically. Peter was from the outside world. Was the only outside world member looking at it, and that's why he was like, "What the hell is going on?"
Mm-hmm.
And then when he asked his brother what's going on, the brother turned around and said something beautiful.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I mean, the writing in this, what was there, was spot on, because he didn't need to say anything. It was the Ingy accepted this world and everything else, and Peter was like, basically wanted to go, "What the are you doing?"
Yeah, wake up.
Like what type deal. And I loved that there was a tension there without being too dramatic. It was or too fake, but you could feel it.
Peter sort of reminded.
He gave in.
Peter sort of reminded me of the classic Fool.
Mm-hmm.
And that the fool speaks the truth,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And manages to get away with it. He's the one who speaks your truth to power without getting his head, put on a plate. And he's bawdy and he's a drunk and he's clearly not morally upright because he's constantly trying to pick up his sister-in-law.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a scumbag, but he has those characteristics of the fool. He likes to drink. He likes to smoke. He's sort of the bad boy with the the Euro leather jacket.
He's kind of lazy when they're emptying out the barn or whatever of like the stuff from their childhood. They're lifting everything up and he's sitting down on the chair type of things. And
yeah. He's a man of leisure.
Yeah.
He arrives in the trunk of a car, which I think is one of the best entrances in any movie, because the female gets out and throws that phone with such disgust. And then they open the trunk of the car and go, boom, see ya.
And what I do like about Peter is he definitely there's a life of mystery to him because he's on their version, I guess you would say, of MTV. He had his own music video that they had recorded on VHS type of thing when they were having their little drinking party. So, he's still, you can tell he's kind of a scuzzbag, but there's still like a fun side to him. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he in his younger years, he seems to have been some sort of pop star.
Yeah.
But he seems like the type of guy that he has to move around every once in a while because people get sick of his shit.
Yeah.
You know, and so then he's
always getting kicked out of the house type of thing.
Yeah. Eventually,
Bad Boy Rebel.
Peter, you gotta fucking go.
Yep.
Bad Boy Rebel. Every horror movie needs one.
Yeah, and he's kind of like the lovable rogue, kind of. He takes it a little far. But even at the end, when Noomi Rapace gets rid of him, she gives him like a lot of money.
And she gives him a hug.
She's not like, fucking, it's Peter. This is who he is. And, he's not really harmful, but you got to keep him at arm's length.
Yeah, you got to go.
Literally in her case.
Yeah, and that's what it was. She's just like, okay, well, you fucked up. I still love you, but you got to go. You
gotta go.
You can't stay here. You just tried to fuck me. So
you're gonna ruin my world. You gotta go.
Yeah. You're gonna ruin my marriage. You're gonna ruin my fucking my shit. This sort of thing.
You're scaring my lamb.
Baby Baba. Yeah. You gotta go.
But I mean, eventually, even he goes along with it. He ends up taking the damn thing fishing. And they're going out in the tractor together, and
I kind of figured that he wasn't going to execute the lamb, but what do? We see him in a rocking chair holding it. That's how they find him. So he didn't just decide not to shoot her. He's now loving her like, to a lesser extent, like an uncle with his newborn niece. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which made me actually even wonder, did he meet the first Ida? The one that died, there was a little remorse with that, but that's really reaching, thinking.
Well, he's their brother, so I mean, he clearly knows.
Yeah,
he clearly knows. So you can infer that. I mean, that's not a fucking leap. But I mean, they get rid of Peter.
Yeah.
And then they just all go back to the way they think it's going to turn out. It's just going to be one big happy, and then everything fucking goes off the fucking cliff.
Yep. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it literally just goes off a fucking cliff. And we should mention that we do see some during the dance party and the drunken party. The dog gets killed.
Yes. That's what reminded me that something's still out there.
There's still some menace.
Yes.
Out there somewhere, but it's done in such a quick way.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you see The Conjuring. And I just bought that box set, the first 3 Conjuring movies. In the very beginning, they killed the dog Sadie. And it's like a big thing with this menacing, that Conjuring, music going. And then, if you look at like the Evil Dead remake, remember Grandpa the dog? Just gets fucking mangled. This isn't done like that. It's just
the dog.
You see the dog run towards something, and you hear a little yelp, and then
that's it.
So it doesn't fixate.
Right.
It gets you right back into the fucking story.
And the thing is that it's sad when that happens to a dog. It's like that meme. A picture where like someone's watching a slasher movie and they're cheering when a human gets killed, but then they cut to them crying like if a dog is killed in a horror movie. The thing is, though, as tragic as that scene was, because it's super super quick, still enamored with this whole fucking family. I forgot about the dog dying until the end, where we saw the body and we were reminded of it. I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, because I wouldn't go so far as to call it misdirection, but the menace is really downplayed.
Yeah,
The menace is really really downplayed.
Well, a symbol of the dog, and this is purely my belief in it. The symbol of the dog in almost every movie is that the dog is the protector.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's the outside protector. He's the one that's almost on the border, so to speak. So when all of a sudden you hear woof, 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 nothing, you've just been invaded. That was and that was again, gets that creepiness on the back of your neck and the hair standing up because you're like, oh, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I think it was meant that you purposely forgot about the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Until you saw it, and then you realize, shit, there's danger out there.
Yeah, something's still going on out here because you don't know where this is going.
Right.
No.
You know, you don't know where this is going.
I was telling you, I was in the living room, and I was, I'm watching on the laptop. My wife knows what I'm watching. I kind of explained it to her. I showed my daughter a still of the lamb child, and she just gave me this weird look and just, wow, that's interesting. Have fun with it on your stream tonight, and walked away.
Yeah.
But what my wife's in there cooking, and we're not there yet. But when we get to the reveal, I literally just said, what the fuck? And Rachel, my wife, she's like, "Are you okay?" Because she didn't know if I dropped something or something. I'm like, "No, just what happened in the movie. I can't believe it went there. We finally get to see what caused all this."
Yeah, which tells you how good it is that when somebody who just hears you say that, say, "Did you hurt yourself?"
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, that and well, I mean, we're practically at that point now.
Okay.
They're going back to pick up the tractor that Peter left out there. Ingy the father is taking Ada out there, and all of a sudden you hear this fucking gunshot go off.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, he's holding his throat and he drops down, and you fucking see this.
Yeah, that's what
I remember. I said, "What the fuck is that?" I remember
exactly.
I remember Patrick was in the stream, and I don't think he had seen this.
Okay.
And he was making some Numi Rapace comment. And I was just like, what the fuck? There's no explanation.
Yep.
There's no reason. I mean, the minute it happens, you understand everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, it's like, it's like, a Grimm's fairy tale or a Greek mythology or something like that. It's just, you accept it as fact.
Yeah.
Papa Bear found Goldilocks in the bed.
Yeah, and he fucking kills the father.
Yep.
And takes Ada.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie. I was so sad. Again, it's the CGI is so good in this. I grew up in the 80s, slasher stuff like that. I'm always, saying practical effects is, better than CGI. It was perfect here. Because when, Papa Lamb or Ram or Minotaur, whatever the fuck you want to call him, you know what I mean? First, it's weird as hell seeing this creature with a fucking gun. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to rip his throat out or something like that. So I'm off put by that. But then I was so sick because I knew what was going to happen now. He came to get his child. And then just the look on her face looking towards her dad. And I'm not talking about, Mr. Goatman. Her dad laying down there dead, reaching out to him. You can, as weird as it sounds, the CGI lamb head, you can see the sadness, the fear.
Yeah.
And this is not a happy end. And it's just this long shot of this creature holding it by one hand and just walking it away.
Yeah.
And you don't know. And what really sucks is you like this family. So he's dead. You love this child, and we don't know what's going to happen to it.
Well, for me, the biggest contrast was how dirty and feral this thing is.
Oh, it looks mean.
Like she's just white and clean and
sweet and innocent,
well dressed and very sweet and kind. And this thing is just dirty. It's so dirty. It's gray. It's just a monster.
And it's very, very expressive in the face. Like, look at the brow and the eyebrows. They're going down. Like it looks pissed off.
Yeah.
But it even goes back to the mother lamb or the mother sheep.
Yeah.
Because as sad as it was, I mean, throughout the movie, you saw Ida. She was staring at her reflection in the lake. She was staring at a reflection in the mirror. There was a scene which I thought was beautiful, where she was laying in, I think, with her father in the bed after the dance party.
Yeah, he got drunk and said, "Come lay with me."
And she looked at the painting of the sheep. She knew, to me, as much as she was accepted, this wasn't her world as well.
Yeah, she knew what she
I
really
I
was.
thought it was ironic that the human mother killed the sheep mother and the sheep father killed the human father to destroy, for lack of a better term, each other's family or family unit.
And
yes, it was sad, but she was going because she didn't put up a fight. She didn't scream. I mean, she was sad that she saw Ingy dead and felt horrible, but she still went off with him. And yes, you don't know what's happening to her, but it's, they could go over the hill and there could be a whole village of these type of creatures.
True.
You don't know what it is.
I got the impression that this was simply nature reasserting itself.
Yeah, exactly.
In the natural order of things reasserting itself, whereas the mother failed. This thing isn't going to fail.
No. Who's going to challenge that?
Yeah. And so ultimately, this unnatural thing that they did, and this is what I mean in that Peter, was probably closer to the truth than they wanted to admit.
Right.
This wasn't supposed to be happening.
I just thought of something. Remember how I said when we first saw this thing, I was really weirded out because it was holding a gun. And at first I thought, Ingy's throat was ripped out. But then when John just mentioned, the mother couldn't do it. So now Papa's got to come in and take care.
Right.
If you think about it, Mama was shot in the head with a gun. Maybe that's why Dad's using a gun too. A little bit of revenge. So...
And I agree, Mike, when you were saying putting it back to natural order. When I first saw it, I was thinking, is this karma? Is this, fate? Is it, but you're right. It's, putting it back to natural order. We may disagree with it because we fell in love with Ida, just like Maria and Ingy did, and even Uncle Peter. But he was like, no, this is what it's meant to be.
She's not meant to be dressed in khaki jackets,
right?
And duck shoes, and these sorts of things.
You're not going to take you don't take her fishing,
right?
Yeah. I mean, there was the scene where Peter went to feed Ida grass.
Yeah,
and the father Ingy got angry at her.
Yeah, because she wanted to eat it.
And in my head, I'm going, but she's also a sheep.
Yeah.
And that, and as cruel as Peter was portraying it,
right?
But it's you were like,
he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, he wasn't wrong. This is why, like I was saying, like you said, Eric. I was doing WTF throughout the whole movie, but in a sense of going, where are you going with? Wow.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. That's the one thing. You can be watching a movie and saying what the fuck the whole time, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That doesn't mean it's a shitty movie.
Yeah.
No. And as with many movies, the ending, especially in a horror movie, the ending has a great deal to do with ultimately how you feel about it. Whether it's a good movie or a bad movie. Like we hated Midsommar. Not necessarily because it was a bad movie, but because of the way it ended.
Right. I really enjoyed Midsommar. It's just I hated the fucking ending with her smile and everything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's not the same thing. I think that to come back in the last 5 minutes and have this ending ramped it up.
Yeah.
Ramped it and brought it back to where it was supposed to be, which is supposed to be a folk horror movie.
Right.
It's not necessarily a fairy tale.
Right.
It's a folk horror movie, and
or like John says, it's a Grimm's fairy tale. Those Grimm's fairy tales are not happy
brutal.
Fairy tales.
Yeah, they're brutal.
Yes. I was just explaining that to my daughter the other day because weird comparison. We were watching fucking Shrek, of all things, but she was learning about Rumpelstiltskin because he's this goofy dumbass in part 4. But I was telling her the real story. But this is how dark it is because I have a book my mom gave to me and I gave to her type of thing, and it's all Grimm's fairy tales. I was telling her how violent that is. I told her about how Tom Thumb's not a cute story. He's killed by a spider, and stuff like that. It's very vicious. So
the second stepsister in Cinderella cut the toes off her feet to fit it in the glass slipper, and that's the story.
Yeah,
and I'm going. I remember Disney when Disney cut that. I'm like, smart move, Disney.
Yeah.
That would not go well.
I think the queen in Snow White, she's made to wear iron shoes and dance on hot coals until she explodes.
Right.
She literally like combusts.
Well, that's what I was telling my daughter. I told her a story. You guess Rumpelstiltskin's name. A lot of these fairy tales, he just disappears in a puff of smoke. In Grimm's, he gets so mad he jumps up and down until he lands, and he literally tears himself in two.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Scary shit.
As I said, this is it was a Grimm's fairy tale, and it doesn't have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. You don't say they all live happily ever after.
Right.
And people, and we'll all appreciate this. People were acting.
Yes. Yes.
This was acting. This is what's going to carry the story forward. It isn't going to be gore. It isn't going to be, bimbos. It isn't going to be, body count or torture or,
right.
Well,
if they made Ida a teenager, it would have been bimbo. She would have been arguing with mom and dad.
Yeah, something like that. But it wasn't, recurring characters, from franchises, this sort of thing.
Right.
This was just acting.
Yeah.
Right.
With a minimal amount of CGI and a lot of atmosphere and a lot of mood.
Well, go ahead, Eric.
No, I was agreeing. It's not like Halloween 17, that you've seen 100 times, where you don't really need to fucking act in a slasher movie. You just need to have a hulking killer, stalking pretty teenagers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This relied on acting between three people,
right?
And it worked. They all had great chemistry, and the thing is, what I liked about this is you can kind of tell these actors, and actresses, they knew this was an absurd concept, but it didn't affect their performances.
Yeah,
and that's what I could appreciate.
They accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
They accepted the concept. When I taught acting classes in ACCC, I used to tell the acting students, because I always give different lines about what famous teachers said, and I wrote one. I said, "This is mine." And I said, I will come out and say, I've been saying this for years. Don't pretend to be, just be. Because if they were, and Mike, you're right when you're saying this was acting, but it wasn't like performing. They weren't pretending to be sad.
Right.
Or pretending. They just allowed their bodies to do it, or allowed themselves to do it. And that just added so much weight to the story.
Yeah.
That made you, look at the three of us. We were joking about this earlier and everything else. But at the end, we're going, oh my God, this was so goddamn sad.
Yeah.
It affected us, which is exactly what a movie's supposed to do, even a horror movie.
And this is what I think separates Noomi Rapace, who does, get involved with horror films. But she's in it because she's acting.
Yeah.
Right.
She's performing every time. Yeah, and that's what separates her from from other
others.
people that are doing. Yeah.
And
as much as we hate her, I would have to go with Florence Poe from Midsommar, who played Danny. That's acting.
Yeah,
that was acting. And that's you hate her because she performed so fucking well. Under Ari Aster's direction. Don't misunderstand me, but
Another character, you just mentioned, because it's great acting, but you hate her. Who was the chick from that you and I hated, Midnight Mass? That character.
Oh yeah.
Evil bitch, but she was so good at it.
There was, before my father passed away, of all people, Robert Prosky came to his house.
Oh, very cool.
I was working with Robert Prosky in a show.
No shit.
And my dad turned around and told, it was my dad's birthday. And I told Prosky that my dad loved you in The Natural. And he said he loved you on all the other shows. He goes, but in The Natural, he said it was the only time he ever wanted to get up and punch somebody that was on a movie screen. And Robert Prosky said, I think that was one of my favorite reviews because of the judge character being such if you do it right, if you really do, and you affect somebody to the point that, you can't deny that. That's solid acting. That's solid storytelling.
There's a story, the woman who plays Cersei from Game of Thrones.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Lyanna Headley. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and that's a great character. So vicious, so evil.
Yeah.
She tells this story about it was like a Game of Thrones convention. And there was a sweet old lady. You know, she loved Game of Thrones. She was getting, you know, everybody's autograph. But then when she got to Lena, she didn't want it. And she, you know, she says, I don't want your autograph because I fucking hate you. And then Lena said, I had the biggest smile on my face, and I told her, thank you, because it tells me I was doing a good job.
I was doing a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get those type roles as an actor, as a performer, and you do it right, you're like, who needs the awards? I got this. This is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
That is, I remember Rod teaching me that about Vincent Cassel when we did.
Yeah. I remember that. Yep, that story.
Vincent Cassel always plays the French jerk. He's like, why don't you like Vincent Cassel? He's a great actor. I'm like, because he's always a jerk. You know, he goes, that means he's doing his job.
He's doing his job.
Yeah. And I was like, oh. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that fucking makes sense.
Yeah. If you like him, then either you're a jerk or he's not doing his job.
Yeah. You know? So, well, I mean, fuck. It's not your everyday movie, but it's the type of movie that I love covering here on this show. And it's the type of movie that unfortunately no one else is talking about.
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, no one's talking about Lamb. You know, so, you know, to bring this out and to introduce a couple of people to it, you know, maybe it gets out to a couple of people in the audience, you know, and they get to see it, so on and so forth. This was a 2021 movie. So I think it was one of those things that may have been released during the pandemic. But it's fucking good. And, you know, I loved what Eric said, you know, in the beginning, and that you never know what you're going to get with A24. You could get a drama, you could get a fantasy, you could get, you know, a horror movie, or you could get something like this, you know. And so this idea, and we were, I think I posted this in the texting group earlier today, where I think Denis Villeneuve and Martin Scorsese said that, you know, some directors are starting to come together to sort of combat content. You know, A24 usually isn't doing that.
Right.
They're trying to give you cinema. You know, as close to as, you know, as many times as possible. You know, they're trying to give you cinema. And I think more times than not, they're succeeding. They're succeeding.
I love the fact that, because the way you just went down the whole list, it could be horror, or it could be this, it could be this. But the one thing you can guarantee, they're going to try to tell you good. They're going to try to do it well.
Yeah, they're going to try to tell you a good story.
Yeah, they're going to tell you a good story. You might not like it.
Yeah,
but they're going to do their damnedest to get that story out.
My understanding is that A24 is taking over, and I guess we'll see. I'm curious about this. They're taking over that Crystal Lake series.
Oh, really?
Friday the 13th. Now, if they get a hold of that, they're also in the bidding war for Michael Myers.
Yes, I heard.
Streaming service.
I heard that they were in the bidding war with Miramax of all people.
Yeah, well, Miramax is they're selling. They're trying to sell the rights.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I'm very surprised. If you know the Akkad family, they would never let Michael Myers go. But of all things, A24 getting into the slasher genre. You know what I mean? I'm interested in Michael Myers. I'm so sick of him right now, honestly, because of everything. But I would be interested in a Michael Myers A24 anything.
Series.
And if you're serious about this Friday the 13th prequel series with them involved, I'm I as bad as a lot of people, Mike included, what you say about the films themselves, I am so fucking psyched if they're involved with this.
You know what would make a good prequel series if A24 is involved? Michael Myers. Because in the very first movie, you saw him as a kid and you saw him escape the asylum. I would love to see the story in the asylum. To see what happened.
The story in the asylum. You could just. I mean, because what ends up happening with these things, and we talked about this with Mike Flanagan, he's making 7 or 10 hour movies.
Right.
There's nothing left to do within the 90 or 100 minute format for Halloween. There's nothing left to do. Nothing. It's all been done.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis has killed him twice.
Right.
You know, so there's nothing left to do. And Jimmy Lee Curtis, I think, is moving on to other things.
Thank God.
But you could do something here.
Yeah.
Even if you made the first, like what they're going to do. I don't know if you guys heard about this. They're rebooting Harry Potter.
Really?
As an HBO series.
Yeah, I heard that.
Oh, that's right.
Every season is going to be a different book. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many details they've left out of the books, out of the movies that are in the books.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have 8 to 10 episodes of The Sorcerer's Stone. And then 8 to 10 episodes of what was the second book?
Chamber of Secrets.
Chamber of Secrets, and then so on and so forth. If they cast it right, it could be the biggest thing ever in television. You could do 7 episodes of just the first movie of Halloween.
Yeah, just think of it, because
7 episodes of the hospital from the second one.
Yeah.
Or or what you could do is let's have Michael go to trial, because that kid was tried. Having him deal with a lawyer, in front of the judge.
Absolutely.
There's so many possibilities, because if he was in, let's see, he was in the asylum for 10 fucking years, so you got a lot of material to build up, and then the series, the season ends with the breakout, and he's going to Haddonfield.
I remember reading the book to Halloween.
The
they used to write the book to the movie.
Novelization,
I love those.
And the first chapter was a completely different telling. It was, for lack of a better term, it was primitive man, and the creature came out of the flames and possessed a child, and he killed the tribe. And they were dropping it that there was a possession, or it was a demon type deal, which they never picked up in the movie or never picked. And I went, but I remember reading, because I was like 14 years old on a bus, or 14 turning 50, and I'm reading this, and when I read it, I went, fuck. And I was going to like a Catholic prep school, and the priest, Mr. Alvarez, no, you gotta read this. And,
it's a demon, Father. It's a demon.
And it was funny because we had a disciplinarian named Father French, and he goes, "What is that, Halloween?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Let it go." Because he read it. He told me to read it.
It's kaboom.
But the thing about it was, but I remember reading that, was because that just came out of nowhere. So every time I initially saw Michael Myers, I was like, that's why he could keep getting up. He was possessed. There was a demon that was controlling the body.
This idea that these, I've spoken out many times against reboots, so on and so forth. But when and John will know this, Eric will not, because he hasn't seen it yet. When I started to see this, what Mads Mikkelsen did with what I was like, why the fuck are they doing Hannibal Lecter?
Right.
That makes no fucking sense. And then I start, and I'm like, what? The very first episode.
Yeah.
The very first episode where he gets on the phone, and I don't know if John, if you remember this, it's not a spoiler, Eric.
Okay.
He just gets on the phone and he goes, "They know."
Yep.
And I was just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yep.
Holy shit, this is like the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Right.
The first episode had me wrapped in.
Right.
That's how I was with Bates Motel.
Okay. I still haven't seen Bates Motel yet.
And it's weird because it's going off the horror genre, but I was talking with somebody yesterday because there's a Willy Wonka prequel, for lack of a better term, coming out with Chalamet playing Wonka. And before I even got it out, the person, can't they think of anything original? And I'm going, well, yeah, because no one's told this part of the story. It's not original. Well, yeah, it can be. And he's like, but he would not accept that. To him, he was saying that he would say the same thing most likely with the Harry Potter. I mean, yeah, the Harry Potter series could be great, but they got to get it right. If they trip once or stumble once,
that fan base is so huge.
They're going, it'll be huge.
That fan base, I think, can rival Star Wars, if not overtake it.
It's almost as close as the Swifties, but still. No, seriously, they would freak out, and I wish them well doing it.
Yeah,
I really do. But I got to admit, it's the same thing with Hannibal. I got to catch the first episode. If they miss it, I'd be like, damn,
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
It's because they tried to do when I was a kid, they tried to do a series of the Planet of the Apes. They even got Roddy McDowall to play the
apes. I remember that. Yeah. I remember
that. And it just didn't, didn't make it. And if you were a fan, like I was like, oh man. And I was like 10, maybe 8, and I'm going, no, wrong. See ya, walked away from it type deal. All right. That I brought everybody down.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're in the part of the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So we have 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather have a giant paper cut on my eyeball than watch this movie again. All the way to 5, which is this is cinema. This is the destination. This is why I watch and discuss movies in the first place. Let's go with Eric. What would you give Voldemir Johansson's Lamb?
Okay, you literally just said, this is why I watch and discuss movies. Now, take the plot. This is a married couple suffering the loss of their child. And then they take care of a lamb-human hybrid until the Minotaur comes and takes baby home. On paper, that can sound like the dumbest fucking thing you've ever heard. But, and I'm sure Patrick is going to feel like someone walked over his grave because this is A24. I'm actually going to give this a 5. Okay. Because I loved this movie. I was enthralled. I was engaged. I was wondering where it was going to go. It's beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
It's a good, like I just described it, it's a good family story. You know what I mean? It does deal with loss. It deals with, like, Noomi Rapace, I think that's what you said her name was.
Yeah, Noomi Rapace.
How she deals with Ida's mother to make sure that she stays with her. You know what I mean? And then the way she's, her husband is taken out, so it can be looked at as a revenge story. I really, really like this movie. It's going to be one of those movies that I'm probably going to watch once, kind of like you, Mike. I don't like to watch my favorite movies or great movies all the time. I'm probably not going to watch this for another couple years, but I'm going to watch it again and again and again. I absolutely loved it, as absurd as it sounds. Fantastic movie.
All right. 5 stars from Eric. John, what do you got for me?
I got to admit, when I first saw it.
Is this your first time watching it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mine too, yeah.
Okay.
When I saw it, I was thinking about 3.5. And then I was getting ready for this segment, and I realized I couldn't stop thinking about it. And even as we're talking, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it kept me going. And I think I might have put my finger on why I kept on thinking about it. Because even when I was doing research for this, for like looking up stuff, and it's not really a horror story. And I'm going, yeah, I agree with the folklore. I agree with the European style of the folklore being told. The horror was realistic. The horror was losing the child in the, that you didn't see, the idea you didn't know. The horror was the deformed birth and the reaction of the mother and the reaction of Peter, the brother-in-law. And I realized, just like it was told and underplayed, so was the horror, and it worked. I'm giving it a 5. I'm with you on that one, Eric. Talking about this, if it got me talking and still thinking about it, to the point I got to go out and see if I can find a copy of it and do the same thing, like not watch it all the time, but maybe just pop it in, once in a while when I feel like it. You want to get all misty-eyed because of the mist that's flowing. Yeah, absolutely.
I think we said when I've said many times here on the show that the best horror has problems that are rooted in very human situations. And so then you build on top of that because you already have something that people can relate to. And I think that's what you had with this couple. For me, I was going to go with a 4.5. I'm trying to think of a reason not to go to 5, though. And I can't necessarily think of one. I can't think of a criticism.
Right.
I can't think of something that, it's like, oh, well, they didn't have to do that, this sort of thing, because everything is so fucking spare in this. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the 5 as well. I think this might be the first time ever, maybe with the exception of The Exorcist, that we've gone all the way around.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. Did we all go with 5s for Pinocchio?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. 5s. So 3 5s.
Again, with another weird child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is coming to Criterion. Del Toro is getting involved in bringing Pinocchio to physical Criterion collection.
It'll be beautiful.
Around Christmas time.
Nice.
He's got some documentaries and he's doing commentary, and it's going to be good.
Nice.
I can't wait.
Nice. Yeah, that is going to be real good. All right. Eric, plug something.
First off, I'm going to plug last night's show when you and me and Jay talked wrestlers. It was so much fun. It was a lot. It was just telling stories and helping us appreciate independent wrestling. It was cool that my local federation, shared it out on Facebook, and Al Snow liked the tweet. That was really cool.
Yeah. So did Maria.
Oh, really?
So did Maria. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to promote for myself is Hey Internet here, Eric here. Blech. Hey Internet, Eric here is my YouTube channel, and Mike knows I've been going through the Rambo franchise, and I've been, no pun intended, I've been having a fucking blast. I have, First Blood, Rambo, First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, and just this morning I uploaded Rambo 4, however you want to fucking call it, just this morning. It's a lot of fun. One of my favorite characters, because I'm a sucker for them tortured souls characters. Stallone is an underrated dramatic actor because I think people just know him for the parodies and like the goofy shit. And
spectacle movies. He did movies with a lot of spectacle that like by the time he got to Rocky IV, it's all spectacle.
Right. It's all cheesy and cartoonish. But this is, bare bones. I mean, even part 2 and 3, it's the action is amped up, but the character of Rambo stays the same. And honestly, right after we're done here, I'm going to go watch Rambo Last Blood. And as of tomorrow, with this recording, I will have a video up for Rambo Last Blood. And then in October, it's I told Mike the theme is horror movies I've never seen. I don't know how many I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do a bunch, but, it can't hold me to it. Finally getting a skin of Marink, goddammit. But I'm going to do Wreck. I'm going to, and you guys mentioned it. I've never seen it, and everyone on this channel keeps fucking talking about it. I'm going to do The Witch. I'm going to watch that for the first time.
There you go.
So, and some other ideas sprinkled in here and there. But, and based on Mike, and I think, John, you were on the episode, I'm going to do The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp.
There you go.
So I bet those are guaranteed for my channel in October.
Yep.
Nice. Very nice. John, you got anything?
I have nothing.
Okay.
I got nothing. I actually was very. You have no idea how excited I am. You're close to the 200 episode, Mike.
Oh, yes. I'm ready for that.
Type deal. I think that's fantastic. I mean, I really, really do. But it's like I'm sitting there going, because we were talking about it, going, I'm glad with what Miss Bill Monday night has always said that, about just getting together. But it's these conversations I actually look forward to.
That's what I've always said. I've always said it about. I'm sorry, John. I just don't want to forget this. And Mike said it too. Like sometimes, when me and Alex, friends, would get together. He doesn't give a shit about the movies we talk about, but he likes hearing us discuss it. And that's what I like about just getting together. For me, when it comes to sitting down with you guys or on my own channel or with Marty or whoever, it's all about the conversation. The movie could be, we'll go to wrestling. Could be the drizzling shits, like Al Snow likes to say. but it's the conversation. If the conversation is fun and engaging, it keeps me tuned in, and that's why I am glad to be a part of this show. Coming up on 200 episodes, and I haven't been in as much as John or Bill or Ryan, but I've been here for quite some time, and I'm glad to be a part of this little island of misfit toys. You know what I mean?
Eric, did you ever see the TV series that was on Cinemax called Heels?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I heard it was really good, and then they canceled it.
Yeah,
really.
I actually really got into it. I was very surprised how much I enjoyed it.
John, if you have Netflix, check out Wrestlers. I think you would really like the whole behind-the-scenes stuff of putting together a wrestling show.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I've always been fascinated with that concept. And I think it's always underrated because there was this person I was talking with who said, "Oh my God, this is performance art." And now she was very hammered when she was telling me this. And I turned around and said, I've always turned around and said, because I sometimes don't like some of the storylines that some people write, but I said, these are probably the most well-crafted and well-rehearsed stuntmen and women you're ever going to see, because it's amazing when it's right.
Yeah.
And it does not have to be the big spectacle. It can always be in that little ring type deal. It's amazing. So I caught some of your episodes on it, and I'm sitting there going, man, nice job. To bring attention to it. Since I brought the party down before, I figured I'd give you a celebration.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so for this channel, we are now moving into October. And October is the spooky season, and the theme for this channel will be witchcraft.
There you go.
Witchcraft is, I think, one of the more underrated genres of horror. But there are some real concrete cinematic fucking pieces out there, and I'm going to talk about them. We're going to start off next week, and I'll get in the texting group to try to find a day, because as many people as possible for these movies, there'll be 3, maybe 4 of them, one a week. And maybe I'll do one extra to get Rod in, because I know Rod wants to do one, but he can't join. We're going to start out with... this is another foreign film by Goran Stilevsky called You Won't Be Alone. And it is maybe the greatest witchcraft movie I have ever seen. I thought it was the best horror film of 2022. It was actually submitted for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Film, I think, by New Zealand. So, of course, no one's going to fucking talk about it because, we got to get the Halloween ends. But... it is now available on Peacock.
Got it.
So hopefully we will get as many people as possible. And if you thought Lamb was good, this is even higher than that.
I'm looking just to make sure. You said 2022, and it looks like it's a French movie?
Macedonian.
Macedonian, okay. Yeah, it says language is Macedonian and French. Okay.
Wow.
Macedonian fucking horror. It is a motherfucker of a witchcraft movie with Noomi Rapace in there. She might be the only actor that people would recognize.
Yes, but that's worth the recognition.
Indeed it is.
Yes, it is.
After that, we're going to get into episode 200. And episode 200 is going to take a bit of a twist as we get into the meanest, nastiest son of a bitch in the history, perhaps, of all Hollywood. I'm talking about Daffy Duck.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to be getting into Daffy Duck's Quackbusters, which is Looney Tunes masterpiece for me of horror, where they're combining a bunch of skits,
shorts
around this one larger narrative about Daffy Duck.
Yeah, that's what they did with all the Looney Tunes movies. It was all like pre-seen shorts, but then they had this long like wraparound story which was brand new.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too.
After that, let's see. What the hell else are we going to do?
I really thought he was talking about me being the meanest, nastiest.
He was talking about himself, That's why he associates with Daffy Duck so much.
Exactly.
Well, someone's got to be the asshole. So after that, there's another one that I want to get into, which is another motherfucker of a film about witchcraft. We're talking about Rosemary's Baby.
There you go.
I want to be involved in that. I've never seen it.
There you go.
Holy shit, are you in for it?
Never seen it.
Oh, are you in for it?
Buddy.
Okay, and then after that, I think we're going to wrap it up, if I can dig it out here, with something a little...
A Vampire in Brooklyn.
It's not going to be Vampire in Brooklyn. Wait, where the hell is it? I don't know. I can't... Oh, here it is. It's holding right here in my hand. We're going to be working on the remake of Suspiria.
I'm down.
Argento Suspiria with Tilda Swinton.
That's why.
Dakota Johnson, Mia Goth, and Chloe Grace Moretz, which I say is always better than the Argento film because I think all Argento films suck. Contrary to Julia's statement that the style is the movie, which she seems to make an exception for with Argento because anything else she won't hesitate to say it sucks and she didn't like it, but somehow Argento always seems to get a pass. No, the style is not the movie, Julia. The fucking movie is the movie.
That's right. It can look pretty, but it could still be shit.
Yes, it is, but not according to Julia.
I'm excited for that because I've only seen one Argento film. It was phenomenal. It had Jennifer Connelly in it. It had Donald Pleasance, and it was just fucking boring as shit. I don't care. And it didn't look pretty. It wasn't one of them pretty ones. So I'm very interested because here's the thing. I'll get on my own little soapbox just for a second. A lot of times in the horror community, like you feel like, it's Argento. You have to like it. No, you fucking don't. No, you fucking don't. It's John Carpenter. You have to like it. No, you don't. Wes Craven, he made Vampire in Brooklyn. It fucking sucks. But I'm
Wes
interested.
Craven's kind of overrated. I hate to say it. I mean, he's known for Nightmare on Elm Street, but I mean, a lot of that shit was just pulpy crap.
Yeah, it was. He's made. I've always said John Carpenter and Wes Craven. They're either 50-50 or worse. With hits and misses. But what I'm saying is, I thought the only Argento film I saw was awful, garbage. Out of 5 stars, I think I was on a podcast. I gave it 1. Or maybe half a star. But I'm super interested in Suspiria, the remake, because if you remember our little group text, I was saying remake everything, because I might find a movie that I might really like, and it's got fucking Tilda Swinton in it. Yeah, I will watch her in anything. Yeah. Whether it's Doctor Strange or we need to talk about Kevin or even the fucking Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Constantine. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's a great movie. I love the book series, but her as the White Witch, fantastic. Her as the Archangel Gabriel in Constantine, fantastic. So I will watch anything with that woman.
It is, especially when it comes to these movies, when you're talking about tone and mood, boy, you for it.
Yeah,
boy,
I'm ready.
For it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's going to be a good month. I got like 3 or 4 more other films, and I'll end up doing one of them with Rod. I think one of them is, we could do Lords of Salem.
I was interested in that one.
I don't know if Rod would be interested in Lords of Salem.
No.
I don't see Rod, but I should make him do that for making me watch Blackula.
He made you watch Blackula. Well, remember, he's also... I love you, Rod.
Children of the Corn.
Silver Bullet. Although he did redeem himself with Interview with the Vampire.
And Candyman.
But he also wanted to watch Jordan Peele's Candyman too.
Yeah. The movie sucked. Jesus, that movie sucked.
But even if you don't do it next month, if you ever decide to do Lords of Salem, I'm down because I've watched it twice. Loved it when I was drunk. I hated it when I was sober, so I'll get about halfway there and then I'll watch it and then we'll discuss.
Right. So he's basically going to blow a bowl and watch the movie. Got it. All right.
Off screen.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want to get you flagged.
Exactly. All right.
Mist comes rolling in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're back in Iceland. All right. All right. So that is it for our show tonight. My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet, Eric here, and to John K. Alvarez, Feeling Sheepish. We will see you next week. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Be nice.
Cheers.
Be well.